Have you ever wondered why some people effortlessly command attention, respect, and genuine admiration, while others remain overlooked no matter how hard they try? The secret lies deeper than superficial charm or surface-level charisma. In this powerful video, we reveal the subtle yet irresistible psychology behind attraction, personal power, and lasting confidence. Discover how embracing the wisdom of Stoicism and mastering emotional composure can shift the entire dynamic of your relationships, career, and social life. Stay tuned until the end, because the final insights will challenge everything you've been told about love validation and self-worth. If you're serious about transforming your life and unlocking hidden potential, hit that subscribe button now to join our growing community. You'll gain access to proven strategies, actionable advice, and life-changing wisdom designed to empower and elevate your life. Don't miss out. Subscribe today. Let us begin by reframing the central concept that the original transcript aims to convey: the idea of a high-value man who stands out to women primarily through selective attention, self-mastery, and a steadfast commitment to personal purpose. In many cases, men who find themselves struggling in the realm of attraction may come to believe that money or outward appearance alone guarantees romantic success. While these factors can be relevant to a degree, since financial stability and physical fitness both indicate discipline and resources, the speaker in the original script asserts that they are not the sole determinants of a man's appeal. Indeed, there exist numerous examples of wealthy men who are exploited or taken for granted, as well as conventionally attractive individuals who fail to secure even a single date. This apparent paradox begs for a deeper look into what genuinely captivates a woman's interest and fuels her ongoing desire. Central to this deeper exploration is the notion that men who are constantly vying for women's approval by showering them with compliments, likes, and attention create an aura of desperation. The speaker describes these men as simps or beta males who weaken their own value by placing women on a pedestal from the outset. By contrast, high-value men are those who defy this trend of always seeking validation. Instead, they practice a kind of intentional scarcity of attention. They do not overinvest emotionally in interactions that offer little reciprocal benefit. Far from being manipulative, the philosophy is positioned as a form of self-respect and time management. A man who treasures his own time, purpose, and goals does not fritter his energy on unproductive pursuits or endless flattery. This leads us to a crucial pivot point. If withholding attention is so potent, how can one wield this power responsibly and effectively, rather than as a form of emotional manipulation? The original script advises that the key lies in directing your energies toward meaningful personal development. This includes nurturing your physical strength, broadening intellectual horizons, and consistently engaging in purposeful work. By remaining passionately occupied with creative endeavors, career milestones, or even spiritual growth, you not only appear more intriguing to women, but also genuinely become a person whose self-fulfillment does not hinge on external approval. When the majority of men are quick to deliver praise and bend their schedules at the slightest hint of female interest, the one who is busily tending to his own objectives becomes an outlier. What may initially sound like playing hard to get finds a deeper explanation here. Ignoring or at least selectively engaging with a woman's attention-seeking behaviors can stir her curiosity. She might ask herself questions like, "Why is he not chasing me like everyone else? Is there something more important to him than me?" This is the juncture where curiosity transforms into emotional investment. According to the original advice, the woman's ego becomes caught in a loop of seeking validation from the man who refuses to hand it out so freely. Nevertheless, we must keep in mind that this approach should ideally align with genuine self-confidence and individual priorities rather than being a mere social tactic to play games. Expanding on this foundational principle of intentional scarcity, the transcript presents 8 distinct reasons why high-value men adopt the strategy of ignoring or withholding extensive attention from women. These reasons are interwoven with ideas of Stoicism, self-reliance, and boundary setting. The first reason is to be bold. A man who understands that passivity often leads to missed opportunities knows the value of taking initiative. This does not mean bombarding women with meaningless gestures, but rather fearlessly introducing oneself and setting a precedent of direct, decisive communication. The phrase often quoted is, "Fortune favors the brave." If you never risk rejection, you remain confined to the status quo and never experience growth. Once that initial spark is ignited, high-value men are careful not to smother it with persistent overtures. The second reason is attention in a world where social media saturates the average woman's morning routine with dozens of notifications and compliments. Attention has become cheap. By choosing to withhold free, unearned praise, a man communicates a sense of self-worth. He places himself in a category apart from those who rely on constant flattery in hopes of winning favor. Indeed, it is not about being cruel or indifferent, but about recognizing that your time and emotional energy have value. The result is a dynamic where the woman accustomed to abundant attention becomes intrigued by the man who appears to be selective in offering it. Next is the fearless mindset. High-value men do not operate from a place of desperation or worship. Instead, they genuinely view women as equals fellow humans, worthy of respect, but not as unattainable goddesses. This perspective fosters calmness in social situations. Rather than tiptoeing around or feeling unworthy, a self-assured man interacts with the same confidence he would display in any other context. Charisma flourishes in the absence of undue anxiety. Over time, such inner conviction makes a man irresistibly attractive, as the transcript puts it. The logic is simple. So many men are plagued by nervousness or self-doubt around attractive women that when someone displays ease and genuine confidence, he naturally stands out. Moving on, the fourth highlighted concept is stop rewarding bad behavior. If a woman consistently engages in petty conflicts or attempts to demean a man's boundaries, the high-value individual opts to distance himself instead of fueling the negativity. This can mean stepping back from arguments and letting silence function as a statement of self-respect. The transcript points out that an overly emotional or reactive stance is likely to be met with disrespect or scorn. It is not about never showing emotion, but about remaining composed and clear-headed. The man who upholds his boundaries without flailing or groveling is perceived as stable and dependable. Bringing it all together in these first 4 reasons, the consistent theme is show that you respect yourself. Whether by daring to make the first move or by refusing to indulge in negative cycles, each principle underscores the importance of self-worth. As we progress through the rest of the enumerated reasons, the script continues to emphasize the combination of stoic composure, a sense of personal mission, and a refusal to be overly available as the critical aspects defining a high-value man. Continuing with the outlined reasons, the 5th is titled Busy with the Power of Purpose. This segment heavily emphasizes that high-value men are, by definition, men of focus and drive. They have objectives that command their attention, such as building a successful career, maintaining fitness, learning new skills, or pursuing entrepreneurial endeavors. Because they are engaged with activities that provide genuine satisfaction and forward momentum, they are less prone to idle pursuits like spending hours scrolling through social media or trying to solicit shallow validation from romantic prospects. Consequently, they rarely waste time texting incessantly or chasing after women who show lukewarm interest at best. Their schedule is simply too purposeful, and any free time is guarded zealously to maintain personal and professional momentum. The philosophical underpinning here is that the process of growth and goal pursuit is itself an attractive quality. Just as someone might be drawn to the glow of a person immersed in their life's work, a woman sees a man who is genuinely engrossed in building something substantial as inherently intriguing. Rather than artificially manufacturing an image of busyness, something the transcript cautions against this approach demands actual substance. When you have real commitments and genuine passion for your personal mission, you do not need to fabricate excuses to avoid unproductive conversations. Your time is genuinely valuable. The difference is palpable, and it resonates more powerfully than any kind of feigned aloofness. Next is the sixth piece of advice, the art of independence. Learn to be alone. Often people equate solitude with loneliness. In the context of this discourse, solitude is reframed as a demonstration of emotional and psychological wholeness. High-value men relish moments of quiet reflection, using those interludes to strengthen their sense of self-work on projects and deepen their understanding of what they truly want out of life. The paradox is that the more comfortable you are with your own company, the more appealing you become to others. Women in particular may sense that your self-sufficiency frees them from the emotional burden of propping up your self-esteem. By showing that you do not need a girlfriend to feel validated, you create a healthier, more balanced dynamic in any eventual relationship. This does not mean that high-value men shun companionship. On the contrary, they appreciate it but do not allow it to define them. Relationships are seen as an enhancement, not a missing puzzle piece. Consequently, when a woman does enter a high-value man's life, she must add value. Otherwise, the relationship becomes untenable. This principle, while rooted in practicality, also suggests a deeper alignment with Stoic teachings about self-reliance and emotional independence. In being content on your own, you become less susceptible to manipulative games and more attuned to genuine connections. The seventh principle in the original script is, be direct and precise. This addresses communication style, how a man of value interacts through texts, calls, and in-person conversations. Instead of sending vague messages loaded with emojis or mindless chatter, the transcript advocates clarity. Not only does this clarity reduce misunderstandings, but it also showcases a masculine form of expression marked by honesty and self-assuredness. The speaker cautions against meandering dialogues about trivialities, suggesting that too much fluff can dilute a man's presence and lead to friend zone territory. In other words, to maintain an aura of masculine energy, one must use language that is purposeful and respectful, yet firm. There is also an element of efficiency in this form of communication. High-value men, being busy, do not linger in endless back-and-forth text exchanges. They typically show genuine interest once, and if that interest is not reciprocated, they move on. This directness paradoxically can act as a filter. It swiftly reveals who is genuinely interested and who is just soaking up free validation. Modern dating culture can sometimes thrive on the game of endless banter. Breaking that cycle by asserting directness can seem jarring. But for those seeking deeper connections, it is often a welcome approach. Finally, the eighth reason: don't change your plans for her. High-value men do not drop everything they are doing just because an attractive woman shows a sudden inclination to hang out. The rationale is that by rearranging a carefully built schedule to accommodate every whim, you signal that your own pursuits are less meaningful or urgent. Instead, by setting boundaries around your availability, you communicate the reality of your independent life. You create an impression that you are not waiting around for external validation. While some men worry that such behavior might come across as cold, the transcript asserts that it actually sparks greater respect. If she understands that your time is precious, she will be less likely to take it for granted. Within these 8 reasons, the broader narrative is clear. Ignoring a woman or being less accessible is not about cruelty or punishment. Rather, it is about placing a premium on your own time, emotional well-being, and aspirations. It is a tactic intended to demonstrate self-worth in an era where constant digital contact can make anyone seem readily available. By integrating Stoic insights, the speaker underscores that genuine self-confidence emerges when one is prepared to be alone, to stay focused on personal growth, and to speak and act with unwavering conviction, even if it means risking social disapproval or a lost date. These 8 reasons form the crux of how ignoring or limiting one's attention can be used constructively. They establish a mindset shift. You're not playing a game. You're simply prioritizing your life, clarifying your standards, and refusing to be swayed by superficial interactions. When executed with sincerity, this approach can compel women to view you in a new light, moving away from the typical dynamic of chasing and into a more balanced, respect-oriented connection. Having covered the 8 core reasons behind this strategy, the script transitions into a broader examination of Stoicism, a philosophical lens that heavily influences the recommendations. The reference to Marcus Aurelius is particularly pointed. Aurelius, a Roman emperor and a key figure in Stoic philosophy, faced immense pressures, war, disease, political intrigue, and personal betrayals. Yet he found clarity and resilience in Stoic principles, which focus on recognizing what is in one's control versus what is beyond it. By applying these principles to modern social and dating contexts, the script suggests we can navigate rejection or disinterest with more grace and less emotional turmoil. Stoicism teaches emotional discipline. Rather than reacting impulsively to slights or mistreatment, one learns to acknowledge the event and choose a rational response. This perspective is evident in the advice about stepping back when someone attempts to provoke you. Instead of engaging in heated quarrels, one can exercise the Stoic pause. This pause is a moment of inward reflection in which you assess whether engaging in a dispute is truly beneficial or whether silence can speak louder. In relationships, especially in the early stages of attraction, this can maintain a sense of composure that many women find compelling. From a practical standpoint, Stoicism also merges seamlessly with the idea of not rewarding poor behavior. If a date or partner behaves in ways that show disregard for your time or boundaries, you respond by withholding the attention or energy you might otherwise expend. This is not about revenge. It is about acknowledging that you cannot force respect out of someone who is unwilling to give it. You simply refuse to participate in dynamics that erode your sense of self-worth. Over time, this consistent self-possession can differentiate you from men who react emotionally to every provocation or sign of neglect. Additionally, Stoic philosophy frames adversity, whether in dating or broader life challenges, as opportunities for character development. If a woman ignores you or a relationship takes an unexpected turn, the impulse might be to internalize blame or become despondent. Instead, Stoicism suggests taking stock of what you can learn. Perhaps you recognize that you overinvested too early, that your communication was unclear, or that you had not fully evaluated whether the person was compatible with your long-term goals. By viewing setbacks as lessons rather than insults, you cultivate a more resilient mindset. This resilience, in turn, often radiates outward, making you more intriguing and more confident in future interactions. Overall, the inclusion of Stoicism in the script aims to ground these seemingly dark psychology tactics in an ethical framework. Rather than encouraging manipulation or disrespect, the advice emphasizes personal growth, emotional control, and healthy boundaries. While the rhetoric may still strike some as controversial, particularly the repeated emphasis on ignoring as a means of attracting women, the deeper invitation is to practice selective engagement and to preserve your energy for mutually beneficial connections. Moving forward, the transcript also explores reverse psychology and its role in making someone reconsider their decision to overlook you. The primary recommendation is something along the lines of, if she ignores you, ignore her as well. This is explained not as an empty tit-for-tat, but as a demonstration of self-respect. By refusing to chase a man signals that he is neither easily available nor seeking validation desperately. This approach can create what the script calls a powerful remedy to unhappiness detachment from outcomes. If you are comfortable with the idea that a connection might never materialize, then you are not wounded by silence or by nonchalance on her part. A sense of calm surfaces because you are living in alignment with your own convictions. Another strategy mentioned is to remove her from your mind, essentially direct your mental and emotional energy to personal goals, new hobbies, or other social engagements. This is reminiscent of cognitive behavioral techniques, where you replace negative thought patterns, ruminations about why she is not responding with proactive tasks that reinforce your sense of agency. While it might initially feel difficult to shift focus away from someone you find attractive, the script asserts that this detachment reorients your life narrative so that you are, once again, the main character rather than an extra, waiting for someone else's cue. Yet another piece of advice is to never act emotionally. When a person is met with indifference, it is easy to interpret that as a personal, slight triggering annoyance, frustration, or even desperation. Stoicism once again helps by underscoring the importance of emotional regulation. Instead of showing that you are distraught, you maintain composure. This does not mean repressing your emotions, but rather not allowing them to dictate your reactions. The transcript highlights that many emotional outbursts come across as weakness or instability, which can be off-putting. Maintaining a calm front, therefore, is not only about preserving your dignity, but also about steering clear of drama that undermines trust and mutual respect. In summary, these early examples of reverse psychology are strategies meant to reinforce your own self-respect and independence. They are not primarily about making the other person suffer or feel punished. Instead, they aim to establish a dynamic where you are not reliant on someone else's attention for your self-esteem. If anything, it invites the woman to recognize the potential value she might be missing out on, precisely because you are no longer willing to press for approval. In many ways, it is an invitation for mutual respect and a level playing field as opposed to a one-sided chase. Concluding this first segment, it is important to note how these principles align with broader personal development. The script underscores again and again that the men who employ these tactics are not idle or lazy. They are deeply involved in self-improvement, learning, and productive endeavors. This ties back into the notion of building social status not as a shallow popularity contest, but as a function of contributing something meaningful to your community. For instance, men who volunteer, network, professionally cultivate specialized skills, or engage in philanthropic activities naturally build a positive reputation. From a Stoic viewpoint, this is virtue in action. You do what you can to foster the greater good, thereby elevating yourself in a socially valuable way. Furthermore, the transcript consistently drives home that none of this should be interpreted as cold detachment for its own sake. The objective is not to antagonize or belittle women. It is to rebalance the scales in a dating environment where many men give endless attention. By recentering on your personal life, your physical health, your intellectual pursuits, your emotional intelligence, you project a sense of wholeness that does not rely on external endorsement. The psychological effect is that a woman who might initially dismiss or ignore you could revisit her assumption once she realizes your life is vibrant without her participation. At the same time, the script warns against revealing that you are struggling. In other words, the more you display desperation, the more leverage you inadvertently give someone to treat you dismissively. Stoicism once again resonates here. It teaches that hardships, including emotional ones, should be addressed with internal fortitude rather than public theatrics. While modern culture sometimes lauds emotional outpouring as authentic, the stance presented here is more measured. Share your vulnerabilities with those who have earned your trust, rather than broadcasting them to someone who has yet to prove they genuinely care. Finally, an overarching message in part 1 of this expanded discussion is the importance of remaining kind but emotionally grounded. If you do choose to ignore or limit interaction with someone, maintain politeness and a degree of basic human respect. This is not about fueling bitterness or anger. If you can master that emotional distance while preserving your core kindness, you embody a balance that is genuinely captivating a self-contained individual who engages compassionately with the world but is not subservient to anyone's whims. That, in essence, is the blueprint that the original transcript begins to outline, one where dark psychology, tricks, and stoicism mesh into a code of conduct aimed at evolving your self-awareness, your personal agency, and your romantic or social outcomes. Transitioning from the foundational material, Part 2 continues our comprehensive exploration of the strategies and philosophies presented in the original script. After covering the 8 reasons high-value men might opt to withhold attention, we delve into the intricacies of how one should respond when confronted with silence or rejection in the dating sphere. These tactics, labeled as dark psychology, also incorporate a Stoic perspective that aims to align personal growth with emotional restraint. It is worth repeating that while the phrase dark psychology sounds manipulative, the underlying message urges self-respect, boundary setting, and a measured response to disinterest. One approach frequently mentioned is to cut off all contact. The moment you realize that a woman is uninterested or disrespectful, particularly if she makes no effort to rectify the situation, the script advises a definitive break. By halting calls, messages, and other communication, you avoid the draining cycle of seeking validation from someone who has already demonstrated ambivalence or worse. Critics might argue that this is harsh, but the speaker frames it as a practical step to protect your emotional energy and prioritize your time. The Stoic element here involves accepting what you cannot control. If someone will not meet you halfway, there is little point in lingering in limbo, hoping for a sudden change of heart. Next, the recommendation to act like you do not know the person or that she does not exist builds on the same principle. It advises that if you must share a social circle, you keep interactions polite but minimal, focusing your attention on others who reciprocate your interest. This is not an invitation to be overtly rude. It is a stance of neutrality that signals you have moved on psychologically. In the larger context of human relationships, the ability to disengage calmly without harboring resentment is a potent demonstration of inner fortitude. Another vital concept is to never beg for attention. Many individuals, men in particular, might feel tempted to plead or bargain when they sense someone slipping away. They want closure or one last chance to prove themselves. However, the transcript warns that begging only cements an image of dependence and low value. Instead, it suggests that you should make her feel that she is the one losing out by not engaging with you. How is this accomplished? By shifting your energy to self-improvement and letting your social reputation speak for itself. If a woman observes you thriving professionally, socially, or personally, she may come to question her initial dismissal. Yet you are not performing success for her sake. You are genuinely cultivating a life that is fulfilling on its own terms. Lastly, a recurring piece of advice is to go out and enjoy your life. This might sound simplistic, but in practice it is quite profound. When you're too preoccupied with ruminating over why someone is ignoring you, you inadvertently sabotage your own joy. By refocusing on friends, family, or novel experiences, you break that cycle of negative self-talk. The underlying Stoic principle is that you must seize the initiatives within your control. Your hobbies, your friendships, your physical well-being, and refuse to be paralyzed by external indifference. Building upon this framework of disconnection, the script highlights how adopting a silent treatment can serve a dual purpose. It is both a boundary and a signal of self-respect. However, it distinguishes between weaponizing silence to punish and leveraging silence to recalibrate your own emotional state. In Stoic thought, silence can be a practice of introspection, giving you time to clarify how you truly feel and whether a particular relationship is beneficial. The transcript suggests that if you do choose not to respond, it should be for reasons aligned with your well-being rather than a manipulative bid to provoke an emotional reaction. Related to this idea is the concept of being kind yet emotionally distant. While some may perceive distance as cold, the text clarifies that it is merely a demonstration of healthy detachment. You do not become hostile or vindictive. Instead, you offer a polite but minimal level of engagement that protects you from investing energy in a relationship that appears one-sided. This approach resonates deeply with Stoic teachings about controlling your own reactions and maintaining composure, regardless of outside events, rather than giving the power to someone else, someone who may not appreciate or reciprocate your efforts. You keep it firmly in your own hands. An equally important reminder is to never reveal that you are struggling. In a culture increasingly open to sharing vulnerabilities, this advice can appear contradictory. Yet the script's perspective is that flaunting your inner turmoil or emotional pain to someone who is already neglectful or dismissive rarely elicits genuine empathy. Instead, it can reinforce their perception that you are seeking pity or attention. The Stoic stance is that adversity, including feelings of being ignored, is a moment for introspection and private resilience. By absorbing the lesson and forging ahead, you maintain your dignity and avoid creating a dynamic that invites further disrespect. Shifting the focus, the transcript also underscores the imperative to demonstrate your value, not through verbal boasts or showmanship, but through tangible indicators of growth and self-possession. This could mean career accomplishments, but it can also manifest in acts of kindness, intellectual curiosity, or active involvement in community projects. According to the script, women often appreciate a man who has passions and interests beyond just chasing relationships. This dimension of value is self-evident when you possess it. By immersing yourself in pursuits that broaden your horizons and sharpen your skills, you become a person who intrigues others organically. Hence, the message is clear. Let your dedication to self-improvement do the talking, and let any potential partners step forward if they wish to be part of that journey. Ultimately, these methods aim to shift your mindset away from a reactive stance. Instead of lamenting over why someone ignores you, you step into your own power. Cultivate emotional equanimity and redirect focus toward areas of your life you can control. The repeated references to Stoic principles encourage an inward-looking approach that is at once pragmatic and psychologically liberating. If an individual does not see your worth, your Stoic foundation prevents you from internalizing that as a sign of personal inadequacy. Now let us turn to an especially revealing aspect of the discussion, the 3 attraction triggers that purportedly make a woman more inclined to become intimately involved. While the script offers numerous points on general strategy, it also zeroes in on 3 psychological undercurrents: validation, competition, anxiety, and the drive to form a stable future or family that can inspire a woman's desire. First is validation. According to the script, both men and women crave recognition, but the nature of their cravings differs. Men often want physical connection, while women may crave the emotional or social win of feeling chosen by a man of considerable value. The text uses a vivid anecdote to illustrate this principle. When a man signals that he is no longer interested or that a woman is not meeting his standards, she may respond with a sudden surge of desire to prove otherwise. This is sometimes ascribed to wounded pride. If she has come to expect near constant male attention, having it withheld can make her question her own desirability, prompting her to seek validation by reversing the dynamic. While some might see this interplay as a manipulative push-pull, the script insists it is an organic reflection of how self-esteem and social validation can drive attraction. Next is the concept of competition anxiety. Women, per the script's rationale, can be particularly sensitive to the idea that a high-value man may devote his emotional energy elsewhere. This does not merely concern physical intimacy, but the deeper fear that his heart and thus his long-term commitment and resources could be captured by another. In evolutionary psychology, a woman's imperative is frequently described in terms of ensuring stability and protection for potential offspring. Therefore, if she perceives other women showing interest in a man, the fear of losing him intensifies her own pursuit. The script argues that this phenomenon can expedite her willingness to lock him down, shifting the relationship into a more serious or intimate phase sooner than it might otherwise. Finally, there is the biological driver related to future building or having children. The transcript notes that most women, whether consciously or unconsciously, keep an eye on the man's ability to provide security, both emotional and material. This is not solely about finance. It is about the combination of traits that signal he can be a reliable partner: ambition, competence, emotional stability, and protective instincts. The suggestion is that as a woman sizes up whether a man could be a solid partner or father figure, if she finds the traits attractive and credible, she becomes more inclined to deepen the connection. Indeed, the script drives home the point that value in this sense extends beyond superficial markers like being wealthy or ripped. It also encompasses the intangible qualities that suggest longevity: responsibility, and a capacity for genuine care. Taken together, these three triggers, validation, competition, anxiety, and a desire for a secure future, operate as potent motivators in female attraction. The script claims that by understanding them and structuring your interactions accordingly, you can more confidently navigate the dating world without falling into patterns of neediness or insecurity. Parallel to the exploration of attraction triggers, the script underscores the importance of consistent self-development, or in the speaker's terms, constantly be building. Whether it involves climbing the corporate ladder, developing a robust fitness regime, or honing a particular craft or skill set. The underlying belief is that a man who is actively engaged in bettering himself is inherently more desirable. This principle dovetails neatly with the previous discussion of validation and security. By consistently pushing your own boundaries, seeking knowledge, polishing your body, or sharpening your professional expertise, you produce real-world evidence of your value that can be difficult to ignore. From a Stoic perspective, this continuous striving also represents a healthy form of self-discipline. By placing your focus on long-term improvements rather than short-term emotional gratifications, you condition your mind to endure setbacks and remain purposeful. For instance, if one day you receive cold treatment from a woman, you're less likely to spiral into despair if you have a tangible goal, such as a new marketing campaign to design or a personal record to break at the gym that occupies your thoughts and energizes your day. In Stoicism, it is often emphasized that external outcomes like another person's affection or approval lie outside your direct control, while your own effort and determination in personal pursuits remain firmly in your domain. The text makes an interesting evolutionary argument as well. Historically, men who were adept at building shelter, hunting, and protecting the tribe had better chances of passing on their genes. In the modern era, the parallels might be men who excel in problem-solving, leadership, creativity, or any skill that demonstrates resilience and resourcefulness. Thus, building becomes a kind of modern survival mechanism, ensuring that you remain competitive and appealing in a fast-paced world. The script contends that women, whether at a conscious or subconscious level, respond positively to this trait because it signals potential for partnership and collaboration in the future. Moreover, the act of building is inherently future-oriented. It invites you to craft a vision of where you want to be in the next year, 5 years, or even a decade. By devoting time and energy to that vision, you naturally exude confidence and direction. This presence can be magnetic, especially in a social environment where many individuals drift aimlessly, hoping that luck or serendipity will provide them with a fulfilling personal life. By contrast, a man who displays clarity of purpose can inspire others, women included, to want to be part of his journey. This dynamic ties back into the earlier concept of competition. Anxiety as a driven man is more likely to meet women who share similar high aspirations, creating a scenario where multiple potential partners may vie for his time and commitment. In essence, constantly be building stands as one of the pillars of the script's advice, merging well with Stoic resilience and evolutionary psychology. It is more than just a tip to stay busy. It is an exhortation to shape your own destiny, thereby enhancing every facet of your life, including romantic attraction. Before continuing further, it is insightful to reflect on how these strategies intersect with day-to-day behavior. For instance, consider the concept of only offering attention selectively, not as an act of arrogance, but as a reflection of your genuinely limited time. The script points out that living a full life, brimming with career commitments, health regimens, hobbies, and meaningful social connections, invariably means you cannot dedicate hours to reaffirming someone else's sense of worth, especially if they have not reciprocated. This principle holds true not only in romantic contexts, but also in friendships and professional networks. A wise allocation of your emotional resources is a skill that can preserve your mental health and sharpen your focus on what truly matters. Also, this approach stands in stark contrast to the impulses of the so-called simper label, frequently invoked in the transcript to describe a man who chases others' approval at the expense of his self-respect. Although the word itself can be controversial, its usage here aims to illustrate a dynamic where a man's unwavering attention and compliments have become devalued by their sheer abundance. The takeaway is not that compliments are inherently bad, but that compliments are most appreciated when they come from a source that is perceived as discerning and sincere. Thus, if you relentlessly compliment someone simply to stay in their good graces, you reduce the perceived value of your words. Meanwhile, for those worried that ignoring a woman's texts or invitations might appear cruel or manipulative, the transcript clarifies that everything should be framed by genuine purpose. When you are engrossed in a priority, say you have a critical project at work, it is both logical and respectable to address that responsibility before responding to personal messages. By the time you circle back, you come from a place of authenticity. Your life does not revolve around fleeting social interactions. This authenticity is what distinguishes healthy boundary setting from contrived game playing. The latter is typically shallow and exhausting, whereas the former arises naturally when you have integrated personal goals and a sense of mission into your daily routine. These behavioral approaches aim not only to influence how a woman perceives you, but also to reshape your own self-perception. The more you commit to your pursuits, the less you find yourself obsessing over who is ignoring you or giving you tepid responses. Eventually, you reach a state where attention from others is icing on the cake rather than the main course. This internal recalibration can be liberating, for it switches the locus of control back to you. Rather than waiting for external validation, you invest in your own capacities, trusting that the right relationships will emerge from your newfound sense of direction. Expanding this discussion, it is worthwhile to examine the synergy between these dating strategies and personal ethics. The original script, though frequently employing terms like dark psychology, is quick to ground these techniques in a philosophical, moral framework, particularly referencing Stoicism. Stoics championed virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. How does withholding attention square with these principles? The answer lies in intent. If the goal is purely manipulative to coerce someone into affection they do not truly feel, then it veers into unethical territory. However, if the motivation is to safeguard your well-being and maintain emotional equilibrium, then it can be aligned with the Stoic notion of self-control. Take, for example, a scenario where you have made multiple overtures to a woman you find intriguing, yet her responses remain lukewarm or non-existent. A manipulative mindset might devise elaborate schemes to provoke jealousy or artificially inflate your social proof. In contrast, a Stoic mindset acknowledges that her response is beyond your control and that continued pursuit might yield no result. So you retreat into your own domain of self-improvement, your fitness routine, your friendships, your career. You do not do this to spite her. You do it because no external relationship should compromise your ability to live a balanced, purposeful life. By shifting focus, you inherently reduce mental chatter about her unresponsiveness and thereby regain emotional composure. Additionally, these principles naturally combat resentment. When you refrain from chasing someone who ignores you, you avoid the bitterness that often arises from feeling rejected. You can even maintain politeness in group settings, showing that you harbor no ill will. This behavior can be astonishingly disarming. If later she shows interest or curiosity, you have the freedom to either reciprocate or remain aloof, an empowered position. The entire framework thus fosters a sense of emotional independence, which can shield you from the roller coaster of external validation. Another ethical angle involves transparency, though not all aspects of attraction are overtly discussed in everyday interactions. The transcript does encourage an underlying honesty about your motives. You're not lying to a woman about your interest. Rather, you're letting your actions demonstrate that your time is valuable and that her level of reciprocation matters. This sort of honesty, albeit subtle, can be far more respectful than leading someone on with empty talk. The transcript reiterates the notion that men who consistently place their own growth front and center will have less bandwidth for disingenuous displays. Lastly, these strategies may cultivate a more discerning outlook on which relationships are worth your effort. If you become adept at identifying early signs of incompatibility or disrespect, you save both parties from prolonged frustration. Instead of forcing rapport or chasing closure, you gracefully move on. This Stoic-inspired approach can help ensure that the connections you do maintain are built on authentic mutual interest and shared values, qualities that stand a far better chance of lasting beyond fleeting attraction. Essentially, the script invites you to build a life that is inherently worthy of someone's respect and admiration, rather than demanding that admiration through performative gestures or constant pursuit. As Part 2 comes to a close, we revisit the overarching theme: you cannot control how someone else behaves, but you can control how you respond. All the advice, cutting off contact, ignoring fostering competition, anxiety, or demonstrating continuous self-improvement, can be summarized as different manifestations of setting personal boundaries. When a woman ignores you, you do not sulk or lash out. You gracefully detach. When she shows bad behavior, you do not stoop to endless arguments. You remove your attention and require a shift in her approach. Through it all, you keep your core values and long-term goals in plain sight. As the transcript has iterated, being a high-value man means internalizing the idea that no single relationship defines you. While pop culture might sensationalize heartbreak or unrequited love, a Stoic vantage point sees these experiences as passing events no more or less pivotal than other life challenges. Every setback, from losing a job to being ghosted by a potential partner, is an opportunity to reinforce your emotional resilience. With time, this disciplined approach fosters a state of mind where your self-worth is not tethered to transient social indicators. Yet it is important to remember that these strategies will not resonate with everyone. Critics may claim that ignoring or withholding attention feels manipulative or cruel. Proponents, however, believe that this stance is simply the logical outcome of a healthy self-concept. The script's repeated disclaimers urge men to pair these dark psychology tools with genuine decency and transparency. If your ultimate aim is to form a relationship based on mutual respect, then you will presumably only connect with partners who appreciate and respect your boundaries, thus weeding out those who do not. In wrapping up Part 2, we see that the overarching message emphasizes empowerment through self-knowledge and emotional discipline. The video's transcript positions these steps as essential for modern men navigating an era saturated with digital noise and superficial connections. The concluding thought here is that if a woman does not acknowledge your worth, you should not internalize that as a personal failing. Instead, you keep improving, keep living fully, and let the natural course of social dynamics dictate whether she eventually recognizes what she missed. Ultimately, you are at peace either way because you have forged a life with or without her validation. Part 3 expands on the final segments of the transcript, tackling issues around sexual attraction, competition, anxiety, and stoicism in more direct ways. The transcript includes an anecdote about a friend, let us call him Jack, who decided to end a relationship due to lack of compatibility. In the immediate aftermath of that decision, the woman in question, who had been somewhat indifferent, suddenly begged for physical intimacy. While some may interpret this as contradictory behavior, the script interprets it through the lens of the validation trigger. Once Jack withdrew his interest, the woman sought to reclaim a sense of self-worth by re-establishing his attention and approval. This phenomenon illustrates the broader theme of how withdrawal, or the threat of losing a man's attention, can prompt a woman to intensify her efforts. Crucially, the script cautions that this dynamic is neither guaranteed nor universal. It depends on the individual's psychology and the nature of the relationship. Yet it underscores a pattern recognized in many social contexts. People often chase what seems to be slipping away. In evolutionary or psychological terms, we might attribute this to a fear of missing out, or perhaps the sudden realization that the person was more valuable than initially presumed. The transcript also reiterates that for many women, competition anxiety centers on the fear that the man could become emotionally invested in someone else. While casual physical encounters might concern her to some degree, the real fear is often that he will develop feelings for another, rendering her obsolete in his emotional world. As per the transcript, women may respond to this possibility by taking decisive steps to reinforce the connection, including becoming more physically affectionate or more vocal about their interest. Building on that, the speaker highlights that a woman may also think about her biological clock, long-term stability, and resources. If she views a particular man as a prime candidate for partnership, fatherhood, or shared life building, the urgency to secure that bond can intensify the moment she perceives a risk of losing him. All these themes circle back to the notion that the man's value must be apparent not artificially, but through genuine achievements and attributes. If, for instance, he possesses strong leadership skills, unwavering ambition, or a caring disposition, she might assess him as a rare find worth fighting for. Finally, it is vital to contextualize these drives in the realm of modern dating. The transcript indicates that while biological imperatives remain influential, they interplay with social and cultural shifts, such as widespread career opportunities for women, changing family structures, and the rise of digital communication. Yet the core dynamic remains if you present yourself as a high-value individual, consistent in your goals, respectful of your own boundaries, and selective in how you allocate attention, you amplify the chances of triggering genuine desire in others. The speaker's perspective is that these triggers are universal enough to transcend specific cultural norms, though the manner in which they manifest can vary. Delving deeper, the transcript asserts that one of the most important shifts for a man to make is the move from seeing himself as a passive receiver of others' whims to an active architect of his own destiny. When it comes to intimacy and commitment, a significant portion of the male population might spend time waiting for the right opportunity or for a woman to pick them. The recommended mindset flip is to assume responsibility for shaping your social and romantic environment. Instead of reacting to every shift in someone's behavior, you methodically improve your own life, ensuring that you remain attractive to a broader array of potential partners. From a psychological standpoint, this approach is also about maintaining self-esteem. If you dedicate yourself to building a successful business, maintaining good health, and expanding your social network, you do not approach interactions from a deficit mentality. You are not hunting for approval. You have already validated yourself. The transcript suggests that women can sense this shift and are drawn to it. Indeed, many are looking for a partner who can stand on his own feet, not just financially, but emotionally, a partner who is not going to crumble under the weight of external criticism or adversity. The script also underscores the role of directness and precision in communication with women. Once more, it draws a line between directness as a sign of confidence and directness as a form of game playing. Authentic directness means that if you wish to see someone, you respectfully suggest a time and place, but you do not become disheartened if she hesitates or refuses. On the other hand, you do not cloak your intentions with endless small talk or indulgent flattery. By offering clarity, you show that you value efficiency and respect her time and your own. If the interest is mutual, the plan moves forward. If not, you quickly learn that this is not a productive match, freeing you to focus your energies elsewhere. Another critical point is the script's disapproval of rewarding bad behavior. If a woman insults or belittles you, or repeatedly tests your boundaries with drama, the transcript insists you respond with calm detachment. That might mean leaving the conversation or politely telling her you will reconnect when she is ready to communicate respectfully. Interestingly, this is not framed as a punitive measure, but rather a natural extension of self-respect. A high-value man does not fear losing someone who disrespects him because he remains confident that his life will be fulfilling regardless of her presence. Finally, the script circles back to the importance of balance, even as you work to convey your independence and self-worth. Remember that genuine human connections do require vulnerability and empathy. Stoicism encourages a calm, rational approach to negative events, but it does not demand absolute emotional isolation. Many misinterpret Stoicism as emotional numbness, whereas it actually teaches mastery over impulsive reactions, leaving room for genuine affection and empathy when warranted. By applying these balanced Stoic principles, you can engage in relationships from a position of strength rather than from fear of abandonment or an obsessive quest for validation. In the final chapters of the transcript, the focus shifts toward implementation, how to integrate these guidelines into your daily life, so that you embody them authentically rather than simply memorizing tricks. The speaker reiterates a call to action. Take ownership of your schedule, your commitments, and the circle of people you allow into your life. For example, if you generally spend your weekends aimlessly browsing social media or indulging in passive entertainment, you might replace those hours with productive tasks, learning opportunities, or even active leisure like sports or hiking. The script's logic is that real, tangible achievements in these domains will strengthen your sense of self and make you less reliant on external praise. Furthermore, implementing these strategies means carefully monitoring your internal dialogue. It is one thing to tell yourself you are a high-value man, but it is quite another to genuinely believe it when adversity strikes. Practicing Stoicism suggests training your mind to remain poised when confronted with setbacks or rejections. Perhaps a woman you truly admire shows little interest. The untrained mind might ruminate, questioning every aspect of your personality or worth. A Stoic mindset, however, would accept that her reactions are not within your control and that your ultimate responsibility lies in continuing to refine your own life. An additional point of emphasis is that while you should not rearrange your schedule for someone you barely know, you should make an effort to be flexible for those who matter. The script portrays a world in which men stand firm on their boundaries, but are not utterly inflexible. There is a stark difference between dropping your entire life at the first flirtatious text and making a reasonable adjustment for someone who has consistently shown respect and reciprocity. In the grand scheme, these are micro-decisions that illustrate your overall values and self-regard. Lastly, the transcript encourages men to remain open to growth by learning from each encounter. Even if certain interactions do not lead to the outcomes you hope for, you can glean insights into your communication style, emotional triggers, and the qualities you want in a partner. By systematically refining your approach, staying calm, confident, and purpose-driven, you build on your successes while making peace with your failures. This iterative process eventually helps you form a stable identity that is neither inflated by occasional triumphs nor crushed by rejections. Rather, you stand as a balanced individual who can enjoy companionship without basing your self-worth on it. As the script transitions toward its concluding remarks, it integrates a gratitude element. The speaker thanks the audience, suggesting that every like, comment, or share fosters mutual growth. This might seem like a minor detail, but it highlights a recurring theme. Community engagement can magnify the impact of personal development. Stoicism, while often depicted as an individual's inward journey, does not exclude constructive social interaction. It merely advocates for intentional connections rather than a blind reliance on the crowd's favor. Throughout the transcript, we repeatedly encounter the term dark psychology. Yet the philosophies at play, evolutionary psychology, Stoicism, personal boundary setting, are not inherently dark. The darkness may lie only in how some people might choose to misuse these tactics for selfish or harmful aims. However, when grounded in genuine self-respect, these approaches can serve as protective measures in a dating scene that can be rife with superficiality and game-playing on both sides. The overarching message is that by mastering your responses, you take a proactive stance in the face of potential rejection or manipulation. Additionally, the script circles back to underscore the significance of walking away. There is a nod to the idea that the capacity to walk away can be your greatest power in dating and interpersonal relations. By demonstrating that you will not cling to an unfulfilling or disrespectful situation, you inherently project self-sufficiency. This can paradoxically make you more attractive as it disrupts the common script where one party grovels for scraps of attention from the other. Instead, you become the person who calmly exits focusing on your own life until someone aligns with your standards. In exploring how these ideas apply to modern life, it is also interesting to note that digital communication intensifies many of the dynamics discussed. Receiving no reply to a text message can feel far more personal than it might have in an era without instant messaging. The script's solution is again stoic poise. Do not obsessively check your phone or attempt to interpret silence as a statement about your worth. Instead, trust that someone genuinely interested will reciprocate when they can. And if they do not, it is no reflection on your identity. That mental shift spares you from hours of anxiety and channels your energy into more rewarding activities. Ultimately, the script's final lines focus on an invitation for viewers to subscribe or continue learning, reinforcing that this is not a one-time fix, but an ongoing process of psychological and emotional development. By consistently applying Stoic principles and mindful boundary setting, you build a robust framework that transcends fleeting dating encounters and becomes part of your broader approach to life's challenges. You cultivate a respect for your own time and emotional well-being that underpins healthier relationships, romantic or otherwise. In this penultimate stretch of the script emphasizes the power of assertion. Men who embody these principles do not hesitate to share their thoughts and express their demands or desires. They do not tiptoe around for fear of rejection, because they acknowledge rejection as a natural outcome in any social or romantic situation. By normalizing the possibility that someone might not be interested, you liberate yourself from the cycle of second-guessing or self-flagellation. This is in line with Stoic teachings which champion an acceptance of life's uncertainties, rather than a denial of them. Another subtle point is the difference between arrogance and confidence. While some critics might hear the advice about ignoring or limiting attention and interpret it as cocky, the transcript clarifies that the real objective is balance. An arrogant individual would belittle or demean others to feel superior, whereas a confident individual maintains a calm sense of worth that is not contingent on external feedback. In practical terms, that means you can graciously walk away from a situation without slinging insults or giving the other person a piece of your mind. You simply acknowledge their disinterest and direct your efforts elsewhere, ensuring that your emotional reserves remain intact. From a strategic standpoint, the transcript also explores how these principles can shift social dynamics. If you are accustomed to being the one who overextends, always planning elaborate dates or writing lengthy messages, the suggestion is to dial back and observe the other person's reciprocity. This does not mean you never plan dates, but you do so only when you sense genuine mutual interest. By requiring equal investment, you encourage healthier relationship foundations, ones built on shared enthusiasm rather than one-sided pursuit. Moreover, it is interesting to note that the transcript splices these modern dating strategies with references to ancient philosophy. This bridging of timelines, Marcus Aurelius meets digital dating, reinforces the universality of certain truths about human behavior. Whether one is an emperor concerned about wars and diseases, or a modern man navigating text messages and social media stoicism, provides guidelines for controlling internal reactions amidst external turmoil. The transcript offers a tapestry of examples to demonstrate that while technology and cultural norms evolve, basic psychological and emotional patterns remain consistent across centuries. All told, the advice laid out in the script aims to shape a man into someone who is self-governed, selective, and resilient. Critically, it insists that these traits are not about dismissing the importance of relationships, but rather about ensuring you only enter relationships that truly align with your well-being and aspirations. By stepping into that mindset, you interact with potential partners from a place of earnest respect both for them and for yourself, rather than from fear, desperation, or vanity. Approaching the end, the script offers a final reiteration of practical action steps. Remain bold in your approach, initiating connections when you sense a spark. Offer selective attention rather than lavish, unearned praise. Foster a fearless mindset, recognizing that women are equals rather than unattainable paragons. Cease rewarding poor behavior. Disengage when confronted with disrespect or irrational argumentation. Immerse yourself in purposeful pursuits, understanding that genuine busyness is more attractive than contrived aloofness. Embrace independence, acknowledging that solitude can be a platform for growth. Communicate directly without over-reliance on trivial banter or emoticons. Value your time by not habitually rearranging your schedule to accommodate fleeting interests. These are the main pillars, repeated throughout the script, serving as a blueprint for men looking to refine their dating life and overall sense of self. While some might mistake these points for tricks, the transcript insists that they are far more profound, a holistic system that merges psychological insight, evolutionary logic, and ancient philosophical teachings. At the same time, we see an emphasis on outcomes-based perspective. You do not measure your worth by how many people like or validate you, but by the quality of the relationships and achievements you cultivate. This can be particularly liberating in an age where social media algorithms and online dating apps push many to obsess over metrics, likes, matches, swipes, and so on. By adopting a Stoic view, you measure success in terms of self-improvement, virtue, and meaningful connections, not fleeting digital acknowledgement. Critically, the transcript also advises men to avoid losing themselves in the pursuit of ephemeral thrills. The art of independence stands as a reminder to never let your identity become tethered to another person's opinion. This remains a cornerstone of Stoicism, as well echoing Epictetus's counsel that real freedom is internal. If someone's disinterest can shatter your self-esteem, you're effectively their prisoner. But if you trust in your own abilities and character, other people's reactions or lack thereof will not derail your emotional equilibrium. In the final analysis, the script's concept of a high-value man is thus about congruence, living in alignment with your goals, moral compass, and sense of self-worth, so that you neither cling to external praise nor fear external rejection. This transcends the conventional notion of alpha behavior, focusing instead on steady self-regulation and discipline. The end result, the script implies, is a life that feels richer and more under your control. Whether in a crowded dating arena or a highly competitive professional field, these Stoic principles foster a sense of fortitude that can weather disappointment and capitalize on opportunities. In closing, the script leaves us with a vision of holistic personal development that merges confidence, emotional intelligence, and Stoic poise. It reminds the audience that the ultimate reward for living by these guidelines is not merely attracting more women or garnering more romantic success. Rather, it is developing an unshakable inner fortitude and a life filled with purposeful engagement. Through each day that you invest in your growth, be it physical training, reading, meditating, or honing job skills, you edge closer to the man you want to be. That transformation, in and of itself, holds more significance than any external validation. Yes, the script reiterates that ignoring a woman strategically can spur her interest, but it also consistently states that your overarching mission must be more extensive and more meaningful than seeking female attention. The woman you ultimately partner with should fit into this mission, enhancing and complementing it. If she does not, you are content to proceed alone, knowing that your self-worth is not diminished by her absence. The underlying ethos is that a truly fulfilling bond is one in which both individuals respect each other's time, ambitions, and boundaries. On a practical note, the transcript concludes by inviting continued learning. Watch additional videos read further on Stoicism, or share personal stories in a group. The writer acknowledges that these teachings lifted him from his own struggles and transformed his outlook on life. The strong implication is that any man who commits to these tenets relentless self-improvement, stoic emotional management, balanced relationships may experience a similar renewal. As we finalize Part 3, it becomes evident that the script's strategies and philosophies can be summarized. Succinctly, value yourself, respect your boundaries, understand fundamental psychological triggers, and govern your emotions with discipline. Simultaneously, remain open-hearted enough to forge meaningful connections with those who reciprocate your energy. While the language of dark psychology may cast a shadow over the advice, the deeper intention appears to be empowering individuals who feel lost, inadequate, or powerless in their social interactions. By offering a structured way of thinking about attention validation and personal growth, the transcript provides a vantage point from which one can engage in relationships with both clarity and integrity. Thus ends the rewritten and expanded version of the original script, seamlessly combining the topics of high-value men, Stoicism, reverse psychology, and evolutionary impulses in attraction. As you reflect on these words, consider what resonates with your personal moral code. Not all suggestions will fit every scenario or personality type. Nevertheless, many readers or listeners might find in these teachings a useful framework for recalibrating how they approach dating, self-improvement, and emotional well-being. The final takeaway remains: when you invest in becoming the best version of yourself, you naturally foster conditions where healthy and rewarding relationships can flourish. As we've explored throughout this eye-opening journey, mastering self-respect, emotional discipline, and genuine confidence is the ultimate key to success, not just in relationships, but in every area of life. By integrating powerful Stoic philosophies with practical modern strategies, you're equipped to rise above superficial validation and tap into your authentic personal power. Remember, attracting meaningful connections starts with becoming someone you deeply admire. Now, I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Which strategies resonated with you most? Have you experienced success using similar principles, or do you have valuable insights to add? Share your opinions and experiences in the comments below. Let's start a meaningful conversation. Your engagement fuels this channel, helping us deliver even more impactful content. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and join our community today, so we can keep growing and learning together.